Welcome everyone to a very special day. This is the very first episode of my new podcast called Planet Nerdtooine. And this time I didn't come alone. I had to get a amazing co-host to join me on this epic journey. His name is Year of the Collector, and I think you might know him very well.
I also came with Nerdtooine, no Didi. Forgot to say that.
See, I'm so out of like the so like all of that's like I keep seeing like these YouTube stars that are so famous, and I'm like, I've never even seen this person in my life. Like I'm not like pop culture besides comics is gone to me. Freaking, but yeah, we used to say, well, no
Pause.
homo, as we used to say.
No homo or pause. It's no Didi
But
now. I listen. I don't follow the trends, but some things I gotta keep up because I have a teenager now.
I was about to.
So yeah,
I was about to say you got a little youngin that's coming up.
yeah,
You're gonna have to know that stuff.
yeah.
My
I
dog
can't
ain't
let go. I can't low. I gotta still hold on to pop
my
culture
my
a
my
little
my
bit
dog
longer.
my dog ain't giving me no back talk. So I don't have to worry about him saying nothing I don't understand.
Ah man, it's something new every day. It's something new every day. It's
You,
crazy.
you know what's sad is that we used to our things used to do the same thing to our parents. And we were like, "You're just so old." And now we're looking back like, maybe not.
It's
But
like you remember that scene in The Simpsons when Homer is young and his father, he had this argument with his father. He's like, "Oh, you don't get it because you're old and you're lame," and his father says, "It will happen to you too. One day you'll be old and you'll be lame." And then they go from the flashback to the present, and his son is kind of like treating him the same way, like, "Oh, you don't get it, old man."
it,
That's where we are.
it's sad, man. We were such a rush to grow up. But the one good thing about growing up is that we could decide to start a podcast if we so choose. So on that note, welcome to Planet Nerdtooine. This is going to be a strictly comic book podcast. We will do, reviews, critiques, and a lot of different things. But I wanted to first say that anytime we critique a property or say we don't like a specific part of it, it's never anything attacking the property or anything that it comes from a realm of hate. Like I always use the example, like I'm a huge Star Wars fan. I mean, hell, the name is Planet Nerdtooine. If you didn't get the Star Wars reference there, it's just Tatooine, but for nerds. So I love Star Wars, but there's a lot wrong with the prequels, a lot wrong with the sequels, and even the originals. Doesn't mean I don't love them, but I'm also not going to ignore the blatant mistakes or blatant issues that I find with it. And everything we say here is our opinion. It is in no way a representation of anyone we work with or associated with. These are our personal opinions. And I just want to make sure that's very clear because I'm sure there's going to be some things that we say that will be taken directly out of context and used any which way they choose. So before that happens, I wanted to get that out of the way the first episode.
Yeah, we're not clickbaiters. We're not rage baiters. We don't rage, watch, read, or consume any type of media. If we're giving you criticisms on something that we saw, is because we still enjoy it. We just can see with a different lens more than just we're not blind fans. Like
Right.
we can spot all the flaws on even on a masterpiece and still love it. So
Exactly.
whenever unless explicitly said, we are coming always from a place of love, and I just want everybody to understand that.
No, absolutely. I mean, and when we were working on building this episode up, we were talking about different lenses, like you just said. And now that I've been behind the curtain and I've created my own book, there are things that I notice that won't bother anyone that I will talk about. And like and we'll even talk about that in the review we do for Stellarlands in a little bit here. But it's just because I see things differently. That doesn't mean that way you see it is wrong, or that the way that you feel about it is wrong. It's just different. That's fine. And always, I feel that a discussion, as long as it's not attacking either the property or the person you're discussing it with is nothing but good, even if it's from two completely opposite viewpoints. And I think we're going to try to do as much of that on this show as possible, because Year over here, he's one of the biggest nerds I know. You can see, look behind him, look at the big collection he's got, you know, and I'm on the other side as well as a collector and a fan, but I've also done exclusive comics. I wrote my own comic and actually printed it and did everything myself. So I have a little bit different of a viewpoint than Year does on some issues, because I look at it from like, well, hold on now. Like, I think there's a benefit because X, Y, and Z. So I think this is gonna set us apart from a lot of other comic book podcasts, because we're not just gonna be like, oh, these are all amazing and you should read every one of these books. Hooray! No, we're gonna be honest with our opinions, and from the multiple different viewpoints, I think we're gonna hit every specific point that needs to be done on any real issue in the comic book community.
Yeah. I mean, we have a published author, right? I need you to say that more often. A published author. And I
Self-published, it's a little bit different.
self-published, self-published. I apologize. And content creator, comic book, collector, reader, retailer, you name it. And then myself, I'm also a reader, a collector, part-time retailer. If people want to, offload part of my collection, I will happily will give them a good offer so they can take that stuff away from my
Right.
house. But
Listen,
I
it's
do,
an endless
I do,
cycle.
yeah, I do comic book content on all social platforms, and I do comic book reviews for Nerd Initiative. Nerd Initiative is a media company that covers pretty much anything nerd fandom that you can think of. And I write, it's not video reviews. I write articles. Um,
Yep.
you can look me up on Comic Book Roundup. You can look me up on League of Comic Geeks. You can look me up on Nerd Initiative. You'll see my reviews. Like, we have um different ways to look at media, right?
Yep.
And we'll tell you how we feel about it. What do we think? What if we recommend you check something out? If we don't, in my case, 9 times out of 10, if I read something or I consumed something I did not like, I'm just not gonna talk about it. You're not gonna
Yep.
hear me say anything, and I'll just move on to the next thing because I have better things to do with my time than just to go back to something I didn't enjoy. Right?
Right. No, so like the only time I would ever talk about something I didn't like, if it's because it disappointed me because I was so excited for it. Like, I wanted it to be so good and then I just didn't like it. Like
Right.
there will definitely be, I don't we haven't had anything like that as of late, where I was super excited for something, then read it and was like, oh man. You know what I mean? It's usually the opposite. Usually I'm like, all right, I guess I'll read it. Wow. Okay. That was good. And I think that's another thing that gets lost on a lot of creators, is that just because you have an opinion doesn't mean it needs to be shared. I don't think every bad thought you have should come out of your mouth. And trust me when I tell you, you don't want all of my bad thoughts coming out of my mouth, because you want them to be written onto the page in my zombie apocalypse comic book. So, um, but that being said, when you have something you don't like, unless you're being paid to talk about it, what's the point? And what's the point? And then that just shows what kind of content creator you actually are. I'm not saying you can't get paid for your reviews. By all means,
Get
make your
that
paper
bag.
boo boo. Make
Get
your
that
paper
bag.
boo. But if it starts influencing, I said that really weird. If it starts influencing your reviews, then there's a problem. If you're going to say something you
You're
like was good
compromised.
because you got paid to say it was good, then your review is not authentic.
It's
And
compromised.
a lot of us will know. Like, cuz we'll read it and be like, didn't so and so say that was good?" Mhm. And then you look at the little post, paid commissions. Ah, there's a clue. That's why. And we'll always be upfront. Obviously, this is the first episode, so we're not being paid to do this. No one's telling us to review any books, and we're not getting paid for it. So, but if we ever do get any type of payment, whether it's for to promote a product or review or anything like that, this podcast will be 100% upfront about that and say it before we actually start talking about it. Just know that. So, speaking of that, what we are going to do now is we're going to talk about this really awesome book that I read, that I made Year read, called Stellarlands.
That sounded weird the way you said it. Like I forced Year to
I
read this
did.
comic book,
I said, hey, listen to me, boy. You gonna read this right now. You hear me?
and you gonna like it, so we can talk about it on the episode.
No, but in all seriousness, it was something that I read. I actually was reached out by the creators to see if I'd be interested in reviewing issue 1, and of course I did. I will almost always review a book as long as it's as if I like it, I will make content about it. If you send something to me and I don't like it, I'm gonna respond back to, hey, listen, this is not really something that I'm gonna cover. I wasn't a big fan of it. I'm not gonna trash your content, your product. So, but this book, Stellarlands, I look at it as it's basically The Boys set in space, but the main character is a female and is more Hancock than Homelander.
Bro,
So the,
when you said that, I was like, that is so accurate. That is so accurate. Specifically, the Hancock part.
yep. Yeah, so and what I really liked about Stellarlands is that they handled a lot of intense issues very well. Like there was a lot about mental health, and there was a lot about addiction, as well as like military propaganda and misusing of military funds and all this kind of like real life stuff set in the least real life looking place in the
Yeah.
stars with all these crazy species, different aliens, different powers, and it was just so fantastical yet so grounded. And
Mhm.
that's what I think really hooked me, was that I'm like, this is more than just a space superhero comic book. Let's go. And it was a big issue too. It was a lot to get through.
52 pages for issue
Yeah.
number one.
Let me tell you, as a creator, that's insane. like my debut issue is 20 pages on the dot. like,
Listen, for everybody that's watching that don't know or just never bothered to count the pages on a comic book, a regular single issue by your biggest publishers, Marvel, DC, doesn't matter, it's 32 pages.
yeah,
32. This first issue of Stellar Lands is 52. Okay, they were swinging for the fences on their first try, and not for nothing, but it's a hit. I think
yeah.
it's a hit. I think they went all
No,
in on it, and he paid off.
absolutely. It needed every bit of that 52 pages to get it where, because it starts off. We're not going to do too much in spoiler territory because we want you to go actually try to read this book, because we would think you'll love it. Um, at the first, I would say about 10 or so pages, it's basically like the main character is just being walked through a military meeting type thing, where it's just laying out, this is what we're going to do, this is what's happening, and that's accurate. And I think people who have been in the military would attest to that.
So
When you get things like that, yeah. Go ahead. I'm gonna step back. This, hold on, and watch this. Well, hold on. Go ahead.
now I got stage fright. No, listen. Um, when reading through it, there's a lot of like exposition, right? They're telling you about this, the name dropping all this lore. There are these worlds. There was this war. There is this hierarchy. There is this satellite. There is this moon, right? But in retrospect, right now that we're talking about it, the the first scene is the main character going to a board to see if she'll get approved to endeavor in this mission that they need her to do. It's basically a military, and me being in the military, I could spot a couple of things in there, right? Like you have the head, the president of the board asking the questions, and you have one of the members stepping in and answering those questions in favor of the main character, right? Without spoiling anything, me as a military, as a soldier, I could tell you that other person knows what the flaws are of the main character, or what uh, uh, having the main character standing in front of the board, that she could fail, she could not pass the whatever requirements or the interview, she will not pass it because X, Y, and Z. And that person is, putting their neck out there in front of everybody to fast track this person to get hired to do the mission. um and I can see that, right? Like it happens all the time. I have taken soldiers to a promotion board, and I've been in there, advocating and talking up and gassing up this soldier that I think is worthy of a promotion. And sometimes people that sit on those boards will answer questions, or will try to interfere with the process of it, because they think that soldier should be promoted and should not go through this whole thing. Right? It happens all the time, and I saw that. Right? That's very military culture thing that is put there, like very subtly. Um, there's a lot of like real life military problems that have an allegory here that represent um like real life stuff, like Nerdtooine was saying earlier. For example, she gets hired, she gets put on the mission, she goes to this moon to basically scout this place, and she finds like survivors of an old war, right? That and um basically there's two child soldiers that are still in their mind, they're still fighting this war, they're still prepping, they're still trying to, they're still on their toes. They didn't know the war ended years ago. They don't know. Nobody has contacted them, nobody came looking for them, nobody came to check on them. That's an allegory for how veterans, specifically in this country, get discarded, right?
Yep.
Like, I don't know what was the last statistic I saw, but I think it was like 3 out of 5 homeless people are veterans. Like, there are some really heavy issues represented in this comic book that,
Yep.
if you take the time to absorb everything that's being put down in every page, you can realize that it's not just a story about space cops and superheroes. Like, there are some heavy themes, just
Yep.
underneath the surface.
No, and not only that, they also, like I was saying earlier, they had really they took like a mental issues as well as addiction very seriously. And as someone who has struggled with addiction my whole life, as well as having people around me that have had that, I mean, I live in Florida. I'm basically in the rehab state of the world, so I see it all the time, and it's authentic. Like when, especially when there's high functioning, I've known a lot of people in my day that were high functioning alcoholics, where they would literally be drinking until 6 a.m., take a 2 hour nap, and then go work for 12 hours straight in the kitchen,
Still
making,
drunk.
still drunk, making the best food you'll ever have. And this character, I feel, is very much like that, where she wants to be this superhero. She wants to be this good person, this good like warrior, but she is still hammered and shackled by her demons. And there's even one scene that we spoke about specifically, when she's flying through space and she lands on a planet and throws up and then jumps right back up and keeps flying. Like, and to the point where you even like, are these out of order? I'm like, no, no, no. What happened was she was flying, she jumped down real quick, she threw up, and then she flew away again. Like, it was super quick. That's why. Like,
Yeah, because like, I don't know if we can have that for the episode, but it's like a 3 panel sequence,
yeah,
and you can see like a shooting star. Then in the middle panel, she's like bent over, holding herself
helmet
up by
off.
the knees
Like,
with the helmet off, just puking, and the other one, I thought when I first saw it that she was landing, but she was in reality she was taking off
Yes.
after that minor hiccup. So I was like flying, standing, landing it. Is this out of order? And then you pointed out to me because it completely went over my head that she stopped. She had a pit stop because she needed to throw up.
Apparently, I've had more of those pit stops than you have in my day, so I noticed it right away. I was like, I know what that is. You thought you could get from point A to point B, but point P came up in the middle. But also, and I find that in some of the best material, like best properties, when they, and this is just all entertainment in general, when they write flawed characters well, they are just so entertaining, and they suck you in because you want that flawed hero to succeed. Because you just look at them, you're like, man, all that power, and you still have issues of a regular person. You know what? I'm behind you. I want this character to succeed. And I think this Stellarlands did that in such a splendid way. It just made this character like, at first you think, okay, this is just like a Wonder Woman who can do anything, fly around, no problems, and then you see, like we were talking about, can't even make it through the space flight because she's hung over and had to throw up. Like that's like so.
She was
It gives it
drinking
that.
on the way to the the destination, like from the
Yep.
world she was in to the next one. She said she drunk all the way until she got there. Uh, and when she's over there doing the mission, she passes out from being drunk, and she gets found by the enemy. Like it, it's crazy. Like
Hmm.
so this person has like they need to get their shit together, right? And like we can all relate to characters like that because like they're no matter how good you do, you always think you can do better, you can do more, right?
Oh
Oh,
yeah.
I see something that is great or somebody that's doing great, and you immediately say, oh man, I gotta get my shit together,
Oh,
right? But
that's the worst.
when you see somebody don't have their shit together and they're still pushing, you're like, you know what, I can push through. I can get my shit together. I can
Yep,
you know, you basically imprint yourself. You read yourself into this type of characters. And in you know, I personally I love story like that type of storytelling,
yep.
character
No,
driven.
absolutely, and like, and we talked about, like, because we had me read, what was it, year
One year,
in of,
you,
yeah, what's the title again?
nope. 1 year in, Ultimate
1 year
Universe.
in
1 year in.
of the old. All right, so we were talking about that because reading that, there was a lot of dialogue, there was a lot to read, and I felt that the payoff wasn't big enough for all of that I had to read, and years explaining to me why I'm wrong because I didn't read the whole series, so that reveal is much bigger to him than it is to me. So I'm like, really? That's all it was? And that's one thing that I feel like this book did. It gave you so much you had to read, but it gave you so many stunning visuals and a lot of big action to almost reward you for making it through that early slothing of dialogue that was absolutely necessary. And
Yeah,
that's one thing, like when you're creating, and this is me from my writer perspective, when you're trying to tell a story, especially in a medium like comic books, you don't have a voiceover. Like, you don't have a way to give information to the reader that makes everything that's going on make sense. So if you force a reader to read a lot so they understand, and then you pay it off, oh, brava, brava, just bellissima. Like, it's just so good that I remember reading it like, that didn't feel like 52 pages.
no,
Huh.
no.
Okay. I've read books that were 30 pages that I'm just like, "Oh my god, this book will never end." Like
For
falling asleep.
example, the Ultimate Universe,
Yep.
1 year in, it's heavy on the reading, it's heavy on the dialogue because it's throughout the entire book. For the most part, you get Nick Fury's internal monologue about who he is, who he was, what he's doing, like all of that. I I gotta point out something about the art in Stellarlands.
Mm,
It was the right choice to, I want to say, when it comes to the character designs, there was a lot of like alien
mhm,
races. There were humans. The main characters uh suit design, it was is great, and everything's consistently drawn, right? Like
yeah,
um they don't, like, the character don't look one way in one page and one way another. No, it was consistent, but it was very smart. It was, and I believe it was purposely done, that the first mission the main character goes to is in like a frozen world. But let's say like imagine the backdrop of like Antarctica,
awesome.
right? Like everything is blue, everything is ice, right? And the main character suit is bright yellow. Like
Yep,
every single page, she pops, she's vibrant, she separates himself from the backdrop.
yep,
Like you are able to follow the action easily because of the contrast of the colors. And
yeah.
if that was done deliberately, hey, props to you. If not, it was
Still
a
work.
great choice. It was still a great choice. Yeah,
Yeah, no, and I've actually spoken to the creators. We're probably going to get them on the show eventually, probably after we do the issue 2. And one thing I do have to state also, because I forgot to mention this in the opening, um, on the show, we're not going to curse a lot, but there will be certain times where words might be said because I feel like in certain situations they're necessary for that topic. Not that we've cursed yet or anything like that, but I
I'm
remembered. I'm like,
surprised.
me
I'm very
say it.
surprised.
Let me say it. Well, because I I'm I, I'm in my podcast mode, sir. 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 This is very
I'm on my
close to
best
my work
behavior
voice.
right
My hello, sir. Yes. But yeah, and going back to Stellar Lands, I also really loved how they did motion because what they did in a lot of scenarios when things were moving really fast, they would blur things around them to show how fast it's going. And I thought that was beautifully done. Like when a spaceship is flying over houses, the houses are blurry because it's going so fast. When the character is flying through space, she's clear as day, but it's blurring the backgrounds because she's moving so fast. I think that was a very impressive choice, and I really liked the art. Like you said, the colors really popped, not just in the main character. It was on the entire with the blue the blue aliens. They were like everything just popped, and I really am looking forward to reviewing issue 2. I actually read issue 2. Year did not get a chance to read that yet, but issue 2, it feels like a totally different book, but in a great way. It has a lot of connective tissue, but it's a different main character. So it's really interesting to see it from a whole nother point of view. And I love this series so far. According to what I've read, there's going to be 8 issues. I'm all in on all 8 at least. If there's a spinoff, I'll probably be into that too because I'm really enjoying these flawed characters succeeding. It's always a joy for me to see.
Yeah, no, shout out. I don't think we said the names of the creators, but if you were wondering, Stellar Lands is by writer Max Ferreda, Ferrada, excuse me, artist Ben Worrell, colors Wilson Go, letters by S.K., and the editor is Katrina Roetz. So shout out to them for
Yeah,
the amazing job. Keep at it.
definitely should have done that at the beginning. You can tell this is our first episode, and quite we're not quite in
I know what it
podcast
was.
mode yet.
I know what it was. It you got thrown off your game by what
Yep.
happened in the intro that we're not gonna
For
show.
for the record, we're not going to show it, but we already have a blooper reel started. So it kind of threw everything off, but we're here, we're doing it, we're having fun. Woo.
Bro, we were looking like deers on on headlights. We was like, "Ah."
Do we talk? Do we talk? No, no, no. I messed it up. We're starting again. Damn it. Oh man, it's that's another thing. I feel like with our show, it's more of just two nerds talking. Even though we have structured segments that we're going to be doing, it's still more of two nerds talking about the same topic versus two podcasters meet online and discuss what they like the most about this individual. No, it's like we're gonna have we're gonna get detoured. We're gonna get sidetracked. It's just gonna happen. I feel like some people will love that. Some people like, can you just get back to doing your comic book stuff, please? We don't like this. Well, too bad. It's like that. You see
Well,
that meme, the old man. I'm tired of this, Grandpa. Well, that's too damn bad.
my wife and I say that to each other all the time.
That's too damn bad. Oh man, this is our podcast. We'll do what we want. But yeah, I we're not. I don't think we should do, and we're gonna keep this in the episode, but I'm gonna talk about it out loud. I don't think we should do any type of like ratings when it comes to reviews, or like, oh, I give this it's a 5-star book or anything, or go buy this still certified, because then if someone doesn't like it, it's just gonna be, oh well, they said it was good and I didn't like it, so now I'm gonna go complain to them. You know what? No, we're not gonna do that. All we're gonna say is I enjoyed Stellarlands. I think most people who enjoy flawed characters who are doing their best to succeed, anything in space, I think it's kind of like a Green Lantern style, but with the boys backdrop of a rich military company that has these assets that they're deploying. You know, that anything that kind along the lines of the boys or Hancock or Green Lantern, I think you'll really dig this book. And I definitely I would recommend it. Nerdtooine says recommended. Stamp of approval. No, I'm just kidding. Directly after, as I said, I wasn't going to do it. No. I was only kidding.
That's what we're talking about, getting sidetracked. Expect more of that. Expect more of that, everybody. But stay tuned. We're gonna try to reel each other back in.
Yes, we definitely have to do that. Now, speaking of, what we're gonna do now is we're gonna seamlessly, with no issues, hopefully, we're going to switch over to our very special segment of Planet Nerdtooine. It's called "What Is Year's Issue?" Man, what is your issue? So Year has prepared a little clip where we're going to watch, and then we're going to discuss the book he talked about. And I'm actually excited because the book he is explaining why it's such a big deal. I picked up, and I'm not even buying a lot of comics, so I picked up, like, now I know why, and now I want to read it more. So here we go.
Welcome to a brand new segment called What's Year's Issue, where I, Year, share my thoughts about one or several comic book issues. For this first ever episode, I wanted to talk about the story that preludes the new miniseries by Alex Segura called The Question All Along the Watchtower. Why? Well, because Renee Montoya, aka The Question, has been through a roller coaster in recent years, and I don't think many people are paying attention. Think about it. Renee Montoya went from a supporting character in the Batman animated series to an official comic book character, a police officer in Gotham Central, to a vigilante when she took the mantle of The Question from Victor Sage, to being promoted to police commissioner of the GCPD, and then back to vigilante once again. Currently, she is the chief of security in the brand new Watchtower for the Justice League. Let's recap the recent events that led her to this point. This is where you're asking, Year, what's the issue? Okay, don't yell at me. I'm telling you, this takes place in Batman, the Brave and the Bold, issues 15 to 17 by Alex Segura, Andy McDonald, Patricio Del Peche, and Lucas Gattoni. So, Renee Montoya was the top cop in Gotham City. Why did she step down as the GCPD commissioner? Well, 2 officers were attacked in Gotham, and it wasn't until a third victim that Commissioner Montoya realized the attacks are connected to her. The third victim was Ali, Renee's AA's sponsor. Someone was coming after Renee. If anyone connected the victims to Montoya, it would have got out that she's in AA. And you know, having your police commissioner in Alcoholic Anonymous, not a good look. This could be one hell of a scandal. She might be even forced to step down. Unable to deal with this, as Commissioner Montoya, she dons her question persona. Mr. Roeder visited Renee to confirm her worst fears. Whoever was targeting Renee knows who she was. Renee woke up the next day to a lot of BS reports about her. A smear campaign is all over the media. The unknown assailant reveals himself to Renee in the GCPD station. He called himself Zero, and he's declaring a war against Renee Montoya. Later, Renee snuck into the Gotham Gazette's office to drop intel to clear her name. Unfortunately, Renee was still 2 steps behind. The next morning, a new hit piece was going viral on social media. Renee was not having a good day. Instead of worrying about herself, she goes to check on Ali, her AA sponsor. Ali and Renee say the AA prayer together. I did not know that was a thing. Ali revealed that Victor Sage also visited her earlier. Vic Sage is an old friend of Renee. In fact, he's the OG question. Renee had an idea of who Zero might have been. Her old partner, Harvey Bullock, had the answers. Renee figured out who the next target is. Her ex, Kate Kane, aka the Batwoman. She gets to her before Zero found her. Zero knew so much about Renee, enough to know that hurting Kate would have broken Renee. What Zero didn't know is that Kate Kane was the Batwoman. Renee unmasked Zero, and suddenly it all became clear. He's Jordan Rich, the main suspect for shooting the former police commissioner Jim Gordon. They couldn't nail him before for the shooting, so Harvey Bullock tipped off the mob to get him. Jordan was presumed dead after the mob got to him. Kate and Renee took him out finally. As you can imagine, all of this was enough for Major Nakano to remove Renee as police commissioner. That and the fact that Vandal Savage was making power moves in Gotham. Yes, just FYI, Vandal Savage was appointed as the new GCPD commissioner. The powers that be pressured Mayor Nakano to make this so. Renee was even at the ceremony. Kind of sad too. That's the story, more or less. Now you're ready to jump on the question all along the Watchtower number 1. Now, let's take it back to the Planet Nerdtooine podcast.
First of all, chef's kiss, beautifully done. I really like this way we're doing this because, like I said, I am a fan of the question. You know, I love the character. Back from the Justice League TV show, he was always the one that was giving Batman the what for. You know, I always liked the character, and then when Renee took it over, I was like, okay, that's awesome, because I thought she was underutilized because she was a very interesting character, and another one that is very flawed. You know, so I when I saw the new question run, I grabbed them. I'm like, I got issue 1 and 2, and I was like, oh, this is cool. I'm gonna end up reading these. And then when I saw your video, I was like, wait a
And
minute,
that was not planned.
wait,
That was
that was
not
not
planned
planned
at
at
all.
all. I was so surprised. I have them literally sitting in this box right here, like that now I actually want to read because I have so much more backstory. And I feel like there's a lot of people like me who want to keep up with series, but there's a lot of great series out. There's a lot of series that are in demand that people want to read that may not get around to it. I'm doing so many different things. I don't always get a chance to read. So, you know, having these segments where Year does all the hard lifting and hard work for us can only be great. At least that's my opinion. I mean, I think that's especially when I have a feeling that this is going to happen more often than not, where you pick something I'm like, that's exact. I was going to read that. Yep. Okay. Yep. Let's go.
It,
Let's do this.
I I wanted to like highlight the events that led up to the new run, because there's this thing about Batman lore that, you know, your casual fan or your Batman fan doesn't really keep up with, and it's that Batman um, has expanded like way beyond aside, like your Batman comics. You have Detective Comics, you have the Braid and the Bowl, and then you have all of these great characters that spawn from from Batman lore that have been given runs, miniseries, one shots, right? And this is basically the writer Alex Segura. Um, we're taking Alex Segura's example of developing a character seemingly in the background, in the backdrop
Right.
that is Gotham City, right? Like whenever you're reading Batman, sometimes a character will pop up here that you don't know who they are, or like Mayor Nakano. If you weren't reading Detective Comics, you wouldn't know that there is actually like the mayor. It's an active participant character of stories in Batman lore, right? He was involved in a
Yep.
lot of stuff. Um, you can check that out in the current Detective Comics, like maybe like 50 issues back, right? And that character is still around, right? Like
Yep.
just as recently, he demoted Montoya from police commissioner and he appointed Vendel Savage, right? And it's like specifically the character of Renee Montoya, the question, maybe you haven't seen her in a Batman comic. Maybe you haven't seen her in a Question comic, right? But everything
Right.
that I was on that video happens in the Bright and the Ball, in Detective Comics, in in the Justice League Unlimited, right? Her character is being developed, is being worked on. There's stories being told that are moving the character forward to whatever direction may be in the backdrop of the main Batman titles, right?
Yeah.
And I think that's pretty cool, right? Like if you are like a Rene Montoya collector of fan and you like you've been reading every single appearances, this story will seem to you like a straight timeline, right? Because you kept up with the character. But if
Right.
you didn't, and you like Nerdtooine, you saw this question number one where she has a shotgun on her back. She looks like a cowboy. She got like this huge hat.
Yep.
Like it's a like a her getup is a little different, but you can still tell that it's her. You wonder like, wait a minute, me personally, before this whole thing came up, last time I saw Rene Montoya in a series was in GCPD, The Blue Wall. And it was a mini series, and it was strictly specifically about the Gotham Police Department, how it was corrupt, how uh, three cadets came from the academy and all the like their careers went different paths. One of them turned out to be like a mass shooter. He ended up murdering Rene Montoya's brother, I think it was, and his girlfriend. Like a lot of stuff happens in Gotham City. Like Gotham City is like
Hmm.
in thing itself outside of Batman and Nightwing and Robin.
Yep.
So that's the kind of idea that I want to bring to this segment. Like, what's yours issue? Well, here's my issue. There's this story that I don't think people know about. There's this story that is informing the backdrop of this character right now, right?
Yep.
Um, so hopefully, Nightwing and everybody that gets to read the question all along the watchtower after watching this video, they get at least some backdrop to what's going on specifically for Rene Montoya, the question.
No, and I think it's definitely needed. Like now, I want to honestly go read all of those issues as well. And the reason why I picked it up was I like the question, like I said, from the Justice League and Renee Montoya by herself, not even as the question, is pretty awesome in and of itself, in and of herself, excuse me. But when I saw in the Watchtower, I'm thinking to myself, what is she doing in the watchtower? And now I have an understanding as to why she's now what I think when you said that she's the head of security at the watchtower, right?
Yeah,
Perfect
she,
job for her, by the
yeah,
way. Like perfect. Like
yeah. In issue number one, they show you um, Mayor Nakano, like basically telling her that she's gonna step off, right? And then she gets basically recruited by the Trinity, Wonder Woman, Batman, and Superman to come to the Watchtower to be the head of security. And if you're wondering, because this is addressed in the comic book itself. What do you need security in a watchtower full of superheroes? Well, there's a reason for that. And they thought that Trinity personally believed that Renee Montoya was the perfect person
Yeah.
to attend to that problem, right?
Yeah, I
It's,
think,
it's
like, with
cool.
her detective mind
Hmm.
and her being a product of Gotham City, just the rough and tumble, just to like, it's kind of, it's not New York City, but it's kinda like an allegory for New York City where you can make it there, you can make it anywhere.
Right.
And let's not pretend though, like, there aren't some shady people up on that watchtower from time to time. I mean, you know, Constantine's one of my favorite characters in all of comic book history, but I would definitely want people aware when he's walking around the Watchtower. You know, what room is Constantine going
Yeah.
into? Is he casting a spell or not? Like,
And it's not just the
and
heroes.
that,
The Watchtower has like a holding facility,
yep,
a
villains. And,
detainee facility. They have like a vault with weaponry and stuff that they confiscate. So security is a big, big, big issue, right? So
yeah,
she basically has like a whole supporting cast of personnel to work around the clock on the mission of keeping the watchtower safe. Like Bo Blue Beetles, Ted Core, and Jaime Reyes work underneath the question. Batwoman is there. The challengers of the unknown are basically like the flight staff of the entire watchtower, right? Like they do like the day to day, they run operations, clean up, all these different things. They report to Renee as well. So it's super cool. It's giving you like, all right, you got all these heroes being deployed to do, to save the day and all this stuff, but you also have somebody watching over the house when everybody's gone.
yeah, and I'm definitely now excited that I picked up those first couple issues because now I've got something that I know I'm gonna want to read because all the backstory you just gave, and I really feel like this is gonna be a segment a lot of people will watch for, to the point where they're probably just gonna be like, can we just have like a full episode of years? What's years issues? Years, like, no, please, no. You,
No.
just for the record, it's not gonna be for a while, but you know dang well it's gonna happen eventually. You know, you know what, I got a feeling that there's I could say a few different series that could potentially get that, like, I don't know, maybe Flashpoint
Oh,
or
oh,
Marvel Civil War
oh.
or I could probably throw out a few of them in that bad boy, you know what I'm saying?
I see you
Secret
dangling the
Wars.
bait. I see you dangling the bait for me.
Step into my web.
Oh
But yeah,
God, no.
I really appreciate you doing that because I think that it's going to be something that a lot of people are going to look forward to. Um, and Year's awesome. So anytime that he gets more screen time, I think that's something that needs to happen. You know what I'm saying? Like, so.
Thank you, thank you. You're
Speaking of,
awesome. You're very awesome too.
oh well, stop making me blush. God. Speaking of things that are awesome, you know what are awesome? Comic book conventions.
They can be.
And
They can be.
that is very true. And that is the reason. I think that's a good segue for what we created. Me and Year, again, both have being fans and collectors, but also having multiple different viewpoints from this. We created basically a list of do's and don'ts for attending a convention as well as being a retailer slash creator at a convention. And I think that what we're going to do is we're going to have Year go first. We're going to go down his entire list and then we'll talk about his list. And then a lot of the stuff that he says, I'm going to have a rebuttal for on my side from the creator slash retailer side. So, Year, take it away with the do's and don'ts of going to a comic book convention.
All right. So you are getting ready to go to a comic book convention. And this applies for big conventions or local small conventions. Doesn't matter. Okay. So the first thing you want to do is bring cash. Okay. Bring cash. Why? Because if you bring cash, you avoid breaking your budget. Number one. Number two, depending on the venue of the where the convention takes place, you might not have um, Wi-Fi, you might not have internet access, right? And that means that your retailers in those booths are not going to be able to um, swipe your card, take your Cash App, take your PayPal because there's no internet, right? So if you don't have cash, they might have the book that you want. They might even offer you a deal, but if they can charge you for it, you're gonna walk away, um, empty-handed. So bring cash. Number two, and this is no brainer, but I have to say it because I've seen this happen myself. Bring a bag, even if you think you're not buying anything at all whatsoever. Bring a bag, bring a backpack, because you're gonna be there for a minute. You don't want to be the that one person walking around carrying a Funko Pop or a print or a hardcover omnibus or a bunch of single issues in your hands. Okay, it's gonna get tiresome. It's gonna get old fast. Okay, um, bring it back. Number three, and this is where we're gonna have some contention with our Nerdtooine. Uh, don't go to comic book conventions looking to fill your back issue collection. Why do I say that? Right? This is my argument. Comic book conventions for retailers, for people who have a table, a booth there, they have to pay some fees, right? So they already have some overhead, and they gotta not just break even, but the intention is to make some money, right? So you're gonna be seeing convention prices in a lot of these booths that are selling back issues, right? And if they're key comics or key comic books, even more so. Okay, so if you are just trying to put together an old Wonder Woman run or a old Avengers run or whatever it may be, don't don't just go to conventions to check comic book back issues. You can do that at your local comic book stores. You can do that any time of the year, any day of the year. There's so many other things you could be doing at a convention than just spending the entire time you're there going through uh, short boxes or long boxes looking for stuff that you're going to miss out on all these other great things that a convention has to offer, right? Um, so don't go specifically looking for back issues. Check the floor, check the creators floors, do photo ops, check out the cosplays, check out the whatever else they're doing in the venue. Sometimes they do Q&As, they do meetups, they do um um what do you call this, not forums, but they'll have
The
um
panels.
their panels. Thank you. um I was drowning on that one. Um,
Well, no, and I want to have a little contention here, not even a bad one, but what you're saying is 100% correct. When it comes to uh, convention prices and going through back issues, I agree 100% that there is a lot better things you could be doing at a comic book convention besides going through back issues. I agree 100%. I mean, especially if photo ops, like you said, meeting celebrities, you're in the same room. It might be a giant room or a few rooms, but you're in the same place as some of the people that you either know all about because you've watched their shows, read their comic books. I mean, and like you said, go to the creators, because those creators are the ones that are there because they want to be there. Sure, they might be trying to make some money, but the comic book creators, in almost, at least in my experience, both as a fan and as a fellow creator, they are so happy to talk to people at their booths because they're talking about their stuff, and that's what makes them happy. And that's not a across the board, everyone's going to be that way. There's always going to be exceptions to the rule. But yeah, definitely, if you're going through back issues, you know yeah, there's definitely better things to do than digging through back issues. And one point I really like that you made was that that's something you could do at your local comic book store. And you are 1000% right about that. And they're the ones who could really use those issues to be grabbed more so than someone who's at a convention who has the elevated prices. And yes, you're right. It's a business, and I definitely agree that if someone's at a booth there, the idea and the goal is not to just break even, it's to make money. Um, Now, I'm going to speak from my own personal experience because I'm a small creator and just happy to freaking be in the building. I personally have only profited on like 2 conventions I've ever worked or appeared at. You know, I'm doing it for the love of the game. So small creators, especially, you see them at conventions, they will talk your ear off to the point where you're like, okay, thanks. I got a photo op in 5 minutes. Bye. Whether or not you have a photo op is irrelevant. But like, and that's the thing. I from a to get the most bang for your buck, most enjoyment out of your time at a convention. Yeah, I mean, if you're going there, all the thing you want is to find back issues. I'm not here to rain on your parade. Do you, boo boo? Again, we're not here to tell you don't do this or don't do that. We're here just to say why. Like, and your experience in most cases, I would agree that majority of people, when they are selling those back issues, have them at elevated price, and don't want to make deals.
Yeah.
Now, to speak on that, as someone who has been a retailer at a convention, me personally, I feel if someone wants to buy your books, give them a deal so you can get. You're gonna. They're not making any money just sitting there. Let's be frank about this. And I personally, and this is me as a retailer, if you pick up a whole bunch of backstock issues, I've had them. They're backstock for a reason because I haven't been able to sell them before. If you want them, please take them, and I
That's
will definitely make a deal with you. And that's not everyone. And in my
right.
opinion, I'm going to say this as me again to be clear. This is Nerdtooine, Kyle Goodman talking. No one else, nothing associated with me. If you're not going to make deals with the people that are trying to buy your books, then you deserve to not make any money. You deserve to go home unhappy because you have all these books with you. That's your fault. If someone walks up and's got a stack of books, I literally would give people discounts just because they grabbed a stack of books. Like, oh, it's $55, give me 50, we good. Without them even having to ask. You know what I mean? Whether that's so I don't have to, do any extra additional math in my head, maybe, stuff like that. But regardless of the reason behind it, the books sitting there are making zero money. They're not making money just looking good. You want to make money, you got to be willing to make deals, in my opinion. And again, I know there'll be a lot of big time creators that are like, well, if they don't want to pay my prices, they can go on somewhere. Yeah, they're going to go on somewhere to
Yeah.
someone's booth like mine, and then I'm going to get their money, and they're going to be happy that they came to see me. Just saying. Just throw that out there. But I apologize. Yeah, please continue.
No, no, no. I was just, I stopped because I knew this.
You
You was
felt it
gonna
coming.
pitch
You were
in.
like,
Yeah,
oh,
yeah.
here
Yeah,
it
I
comes.
knew it. All right.
Oh, and also I do
Yeah,
agree. The first one, bring cash. That is such an understatement. How important that is. Again, I've as a retailer, I've been there. I have everything that you can swipe, so I can take your payment. But if I don't have signal, it doesn't matter how much money you have or what products I have to sell because we can't do it. I've even had times where I would go to like the vet, like at MegaCon, for instance, I would go up to someone's booth and like these celebrities. The celebrities can't take the payment. It's not like it's just little creators like me,
yeah,
and then on top of that, one thing that you didn't mention, if you get into the situation where they just can't and say, well, we need cash or nothing else, you can go to the ATMs at the convention center. You better one hope that there's any money left in them because when I did last MegaCon,
it goes
by
out
day
fast.
two,
It
there
goes
was
out
no
fast.
money in any of the ATMs anywhere in the entire Orange County Convention Center.
And you would
Okay,
probably pay like $10, $15 fee
It
to
was
just withdraw cash
it was like I
from
think
those
it was like
specific
a
ATMs.
$5 fee on their end, and then my bank charged me another one on the back end.
Yeah, no,
So,
absolutely not.
again,
Also,
that is a very good point.
you can testify to this. If you, right, a good bargaining chip, right? If you are gonna uh procure an item that's $60, right? And you tell that retailer, I'll give you 50 cash, they will go for that offer because they won't
In
have to
most
pay
cases,
any
yeah.
taxes on that. There were no
And well,
fees on that
it's the
transaction
fees that
whatsoever.
really the fees that really get you because like even when like if you're using a credit card for instance on say like the stripe where the square where you swipe it there's additional fees on top of that to like the point where like one of my retailer friends they actually have it programmed like on their keypad to what if it's like $5 it automatically calculates $5 plus 2% for the bank. They
Yeah,
literally have an option for it. Like,
yeah.
listen, if you've got cash, it's $50. If you want to swipe, it'll end up coming to like 52.30. Like
It might
what
even more. It
even
might be
more
around.
maybe.
Yeah, you
Yeah,
never
no,
know.
absolutely.
So
Yeah, for sure.
a lot going on with things you should do or you shouldn't do. Um, Conventions sometimes are standing room only, right? There's no tables, or the tables are only at the food court, like away from everything else in the floor. um you're gonna get tired. You're gonna do a lot of walking. You're gonna do a lot of going through those
Shimmying.
loan boxes. When you're gonna be on your feet. If you can get a good folding chair that you can strap on your backpack, or something that is that you can put on a bag or something, that will be the difference between you staying all the way through the end till they close, or you leaving early because your feet hurt. I
Yeah.
promise you. I promise you, and if it's a 2 day, 3 day, 4 day convention, those folding chairs are a game changer. When you're waiting in line to get a signature from a creator, right? You
Yep.
put out your folding chair and you sit on it, right? While everybody else is standing or sitting on the floor, you'll be comfortable. You'll be able to recover a little bit.
Yeah.
um, Another thing, speaking of budgets, research prices for creators. Go on Google, go on Facebook, right? A lot of the big time conventions have Facebook pages, and you can go in there and ask, hey, how much does X creator charges for a signature? How much
Yep.
they charge for a remark, or what are the fees between getting a personalized signature or a signature for a CGC grading, right?
Right.
There's fees. There's different fees. Um, a lot of creators do like first three are free, or $5 for a signature, $10 for a signature for a CGC, right? Those things matter because when you want to budget, you want to make
Yep.
sure that you have the right amount of money to get all the signatures that you want. You don't want to go to a convention and spend all your money in a big time creator signature, and then when you go to the other creator, you don't have money left over,
Yep.
and you're gonna miss out, right? So be
No,
mindful of that.
I that is a big thing too because there are and sometimes there'll be like a specific like vendor that has multiple artists or writers there with them that signatures 3 are free and you could go down the list and get 12 signatures for free if you don't want them graded. That's huge and it's not like they're bad names. Like I remember when I think it was 2 years ago when I actually met you um Tynion was there,
Uh-huh.
and him, Simmons, and Ruby Blanco, and there was a whole bunch of them that were all at this one table, and it was literally free, 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 free. I'm like, I would have brought a billion books. Like, because
Yeah.
if you bring a whole stack, they'll be like the first are three, and then they'll give you a number like it's X for each additional one.
Yeah.
And that is huge. And one of the things that I think that is important for, on the retail side is to have that posted. You know,
Yes.
it's so, and this is me more so now as a creator. I know as a fan, I was so scared to walk up to someone who didn't have their prices up to find out what their prices were to see if I could afford
Yeah.
to get their signature. And I hate being like, okay, thanks, because I'm like, damn, I can't afford that and walk away. If you've got it
Yeah.
posted right there, they know
Talk
right away.
yeah, talking about money in any scenario, it can be tacky or awkward, right? So, retailers, creators, have your prices posted. I'm gonna give you an example. This past summer, I went to Denver Fan Expo, and sometimes some of these creators, they have agents that help them with the travel, especially if they're foreigners, right? In this case, I met the Spaniard creator. His name is Pepe Larraz, right? Pepe was there and he got there before his handler, right? The person that's supposed to set up the booth, post the prices, usher the people in the line, all these things. So Pepe was standing there just talking talking people's ear off because he was just enjoying being there. But when people was like, okay, you signed this many books, how much I owe you? He looked around and he was like, I don't know. And he literally looked at the table next to him, and he wasn't a
Oh,
creator with, I would say, with the same prestige as him. I would say it was like a small time creator because at the time, Pepe Larraz was the main penciler for Blood Hunt, which was Marvel's summer event. Right, it's a
right.
big deal. The other person
Yeah.
wasn't at that level, so he grabbed the the price sign from the next table. And he was like, "Just pay me this," and he put it over there. I was like, "Are you sure?"
Wow. Yeah, but that's one of those things. He was you like you said it. He was just having fun and enjoying, and that's I found that more so than not, most of the creators that are there, feel the same way. They're so
Mhm.
excited to be around people that actually love what they do that it's not just them. Okay, let me sign,
Yeah, no.
sign, sign. No, it's like, hey, how you doing? All right, sign, sign. Have you actually read it? Like I've had a couple of them be like, did are you just a reseller? And I was like, well, I am, but I read that. I love it. Like, you know,
Yeah.
and I'll say just a little tag onto that. Don't be ashamed to be honest with them. Because I actually walked up to one artist that I've never seen like what they looked like, and I walked to the wrong guy, and I was like, I'm so sorry. I'm gonna be honest. Like, I have this expensive cover, and I know he's the artist. I've never seen what he looked like, and I couldn't find it on Google. Can you tell me when he's gonna be back? And tell him that
Yeah.
a weirdo's gonna come up looking real humble.
Yeah. No, listen, and if you have questions about the art to the artist or about the story to the writer, be respectful, but ask away. You never know what some of these creators, what type of lore or you know, uh behind closed doors stories they will tell you, right? We have a friend in common. His name is Timo, aka the Thor, and I mess with him all the time. Like I give him crap about Thor, right? And one time I made this ludicrous video about why Spider Woman was worthy of Mjolnir, right? Uh, why Thor believed in his mind that Spider Woman was worthy, right? And I walked up to Jason Aaron, the writer of said story, and I asked him, I was like, listen, you remember I saw A, I saw B, and I saw C, and therefore I think Thor, and I was just being, funny. I just thought
Right.
Thor believed she was worthy. What do you have to say about that, Jason Aaron? And and he looked at me and he was like, "Well, if she was there, it had to be that Thor believed she was." And I was like, "In your face, Timo. Can you sign this for me, please?"
See, that's that. I have a story like that too with Chris Claremont.
All right.
However, I can't talk about it because he specifically asked me after to not say what he was, because he actually talked to me for about 30 minutes with a line of people behind me about a run that he was doing that got canceled. And he was telling, and
Oh.
I had my phone like up on my chest, like I'm like holding it like, and I'm recording. He's like, "Are you recording?" I was like, Yes. He's like, you can't post it anywhere or talk about it. I'm like, okay. And some people. Let me say that if you are recording, tell them you're recording.
Yeah,
And if they ask you not to post it, you best not post it
yeah.
because I swear I'm gonna come for you. Like, because
Listen,
if
if you
I'm
have a
holding this
mic,
Chris Claremont details in my mind and in
it,
my phone, everyone should.
listen, they most of them are okay with you recording, taking a photo, taking a video of them signing your stuff, or you asking them questions. A lot of them are comfortable being in camera. Ask before you start,
Yep.
and most of them will say, "Yeah, do you have a mic?" Or like, "Where am I looking at?" Like, okay, boom. They don't mind. They don't mind because newsflash, the comic book industry is mostly a uh, what do you say, spraying through word of mouth. So
Yep.
if the stories get out there and they get people to come in and invest their time and money, you know then by all means with that. Most of them are. So just do or don't check before you pull out your phone or you put a mic on their face. Just check, be polite about it. um and speaking of getting signatures, prep your books if you want them to
Yeah.
get signed, right? If you're bringing a comic book that is inside a regular bag and board, right? You're sticking it out, you're holding it on top, they get it signed. Now you have to hold it, waiting for the ink to dry. If you slide it back in that bag too quick,
Oh.
that ink might smear, depending on, if it's a foil cover, if it's a cardstock, if whatever,
Yeah.
it might get ruined. Like you put it on your back,
Yep.
prep your books. Okay. I have a how to 2-minute video on my YouTube channel on how to create your own signature bags, right? You cut out the plastic, you put some tape on it. Basically, you customize your own bag where you want your creator to sign. And you can make multiple windows for multiple creators, right? Pretty simple thing to do. Or you can just buy them. Some of I think CGC or in Amazon sell
Yeah.
custom signature bags that they already have like the holes cut in it, right? You pull out your bag, your comic book is inside a bag. It has a backboard. It gets signed. You can put it away. Don't worry about it. Okay. Prep your books.
Yep.
Uh, this one is a no-brainer, but I feel like I have to say still because people still do this. Eat the food at the food court. Don't bring your 6-inch sub to a booth. Don't bring your Chick-fil-A chicken nuggets
Your
to
cup with condensation.
to your to like don't hold in one hand your cup that is already perspiring and in the other hand be going through back issues, okay?
Yeah.
Even if you are the
Agreed.
most careful person ever, somebody might bump into you and then you could spill all that liquid on those comics. You can ruin somebody's booth. You can spill something. Just you're hungry, go eat, wash
Yep.
your hands, and then come back.
And dry them, please. If you go through my books with wet fingers, I'm a smack them.
Yeah. Um, another thing about awareness, mind your surroundings. Yours and others around you. You might have your bags, your backpack, you might have a cosplay. When at a lot of places, it's gonna be shoulder to shoulder, right?
Yep.
And you're gonna be like sidestepping uh, um, around people with like this, super
4 foot
elaborated
wings and a
furry
tail
wings
that's
and Dr. Octopus,
right.
robotic arms, and you might walk next to the Spider-Man gathering where it always happens. You have all the Spider people cosplay
It
like
always happens
link
at
up
every
and
convention.
they shoot footage together, right? Mind your surroundings. You don't want to be uh walking into people's frames or messing people's pictures or bumping into people. Mind your surroundings, right? um we already talked about this one. ask prior, taking pictures of videos,
The other
and
thing
that
about minding your
includes.
surroundings,
Yeah, go ahead.
also be careful just walking around booths, because if you, like you say, you have a backpack on, if you turn and someone has, let's say, a stack of comics, we actually had this happen at a SuperCon. Someone walked up to the booth and decided to like, I don't know, lean on it,
Mm,
and the because I didn't see the start of it, so I don't know exactly what they did to make it happen. But the shelving unit that we had all of the exclusives for Here Walks Monsters on fell.
damn.
All of my books were numbered. If something gets damaged, that's just a loss right there. I was lucky enough that it nothing damaged and nothing happened to it. So thankfully, and even a booth right next to us, they had a whole bunch of long boxes. Someone was digging through a long box on the bottom and pulled it out too far, and the other long boxes on top of it fell down, and the whole long box middle cracked. And then the comics were just everywhere. I'm just like, oh my god! Like,
That's
you got to
tough.
be, and that's it's very, and we're not saying it to be mean, like, or to be like you have to tiptoe around. No, but if you got a bag on, just know generally how big you are, and when it comes in to like big conventions, you're talking about shoulder to shoulder. MegaCon every year on Saturday gets to the point where even me, as someone who is basically getting paid to be there because I'm selling my comic book, even I want to leave because there's just so many people and it's a lot. And that's another thing. Like, when you don't know your surroundings or how big your bag is, or how wide like you might turn, things like that. There's a lot of things that people don't even think about that could really be damaging to
Yeah.
not only you or someone else, but products around too. It's a lot of
Hmm.
expensive stuff at conventions.
Yeah. I wanted to go back to like the asking prior, taking pictures of video. That is not limited to creators. That goes for
Nope, everyone.
cosplayers, for celebrities, like anybody, right? Um, I remember I went to this convention and I met Matthew Lillard, right? And there was a huge
Oh,
line
love him.
for people to like meet with him and take a quick picture. After he was done with the photo, like the time in the booth, he wanted to walk the floor, right? And a lot of people were like stepping or getting in front of him in his
To take a
little
picture.
entourage to take a picture or a selfie or a video. Listen, uh, Matthew had no uh, reservations about moving people out of the way. They are a human being just like you, and they had a block time for you to go and meet and take pictures and all that. He wants to be in the floor and see and purchase and
Yes.
enjoy the convention just like you. Don't be rude, okay? If you're gonna take a picture while he's walking and you're not gonna bother nobody, by all means, but like don't intentionally like go like this.
Yeah.
"Hey." No, hey, behave, okay,
Agree.
people. You can
No, and
get tossed out
and
if
I'm gonna
yeah,
I'm gonna
if
give you
the
a
celebrity
reason
say,
why.
hey, this person, like, get him out of here, you can get tossed out like
Absolutely.
that.
But there's another reason why that is a very good rule, because sometimes even superstars will walk around the convention to try to make people's day, whether it's for taking pictures with them, or like I actually Jason Momoa was at MegaCon a few years ago, and he went around and signed every single picture that someone made of him, whether it was Aquaman, Game of Thrones, it didn't matter, for free, and didn't ask for anything in return, just so they can sell their piece easier. If you make it harder for people to go do things like that, then those great stories are gone. And that's just not something that not gonna tolerate. I'm sorry. I'm not gonna tolerate it.
All right, another one. When you go to the creators alley, right, and you want to commission one of these artists to do a print, to do a sketch cover, to do whatever, hash out the details of what you
Mhm.
want and what the price is before you slap the table, you give them your blank cover and walked away, because
Yep.
you will come back to something you did not want it, or something you did not envision, and you will still have to pay for that,
Yeah.
right? Okay.
And
And
also
make
give
sure
give
yeah,
time
you make
frames too.
yeah, and make
because
sure,
they might not be able to do it right then and
yeah,
there, so they
yeah,
might
all
have
the
to take it
details.
back.
How
Yeah.
long it's gonna take? How much is it gonna be?
Yep.
I want it in black and white. I want it in pencils. I want it with inks. I want it with color. I want this many characters. I want it a profile, front, side, away. Be specific. Don't leave it up to the artist. The artist will do what you ask, or they'll tell you, I can or cannot do
Right.
set
Yep.
commission, right? Or I can't do it in this time, or you'll have to come back tomorrow, right? They are specifically there to make art and make money, but you have to hash out those details, okay? Some
Yep.
creators take commissions prior to the convention through the convention people itself, right?
Yep.
Or some
Yeah.
of them, some of their book their conventions through their social media. They'll put out a statement, hey, I'm gonna be at megacon from this date to this day, accepting commissions now,
Yep.
right?
Yep.
And when they're fully booked because they have a schedule to maintain, because they have panels or photo ops, or they just want to go enjoy their time in the city, they will only take so many, right? Or they have a
Yeah.
private signing with CGC or whoever. They know they can only take 10, 15, 20 the time they're going to be there, right? And mind you, a lot of these creators, they commission each other, right? They're fans of each other too. So
Yep.
if you know your favorite creator is gonna be there, check their socials, right? Um, See if they're taking commissions at the convention or prior to, or they have their own website where you can book them. Look all this stuff up. Don't show up there and then walk out empty-handed because you did not prep yourself. Okay. Um, what else we got? Oh, this one's gonna
I already know what it is. I already know what it is.
this one this one's gonna hit home. Um, Schedule around your photo ops, Q&As, meetups, or whatever other forums, right? When you do a photo op, when you do a meetup, a signing or whatever, a lot of those are purchased in advance and they give you a time slot. Hey, you
Yep.
purchase your photo op in block time, 1 p.m. Saturday, right? Make sure that you are free to be at that line for whatever, an hour, 2 hours, to get your photo, right? Don't lollygag, don't get distracted, don't go around doing other things because you
Don't man
will
a booth for
miss.
your buddy.
Yeah, don't be hanging with your body, but your comic book best buddies, because you will miss your time slot, and you will, more likely than not, you will lose your money, right? Like if you pay for a photo op with, I don't know, a Rosario Dawson, it will behoove you to know when it's your time slot so you can be there and not miss out on it, or don't freak out when they say last call or whatever because you're not there because you got distracted doing something else.
Now, to give all of you the backstory as to why I'm looking the way I do, and the reason why he specifically said Rosario Dawson is because a few years ago at MegaCon, I was hanging out with Year. I was manning a buddy's booth because I was asked to, he had to go to the bathroom, had to do a couple things. Like, fine, no problem. I'll watch your booth, no big deal. I thought I had the right time. I didn't double check like I probably should have. Knowing me with numbers, I should have. But then I literally look down and go, wait a minute. I missed my Rosario Dawson photo op because okay, so to understand why this is such a big deal, I've loved Rosario Dawson since Rent. Okay. I have been with her since the dang beginning. Take me out tonight. Yeah. From the beginning. Okay. And then she got cast as Ahsoka in Star Wars. And I was so excited. I actually made a post about how lucky we were that we were going to get Rosario Dawson, an actress of her caliber in Star Wars. And she direct messaged me, thanking me and telling me that she hopes that she can live up to all of our high hopes. I almost died when I saw that message from the verified actual Rosario Dawson account. Now, Year is right. If you miss your photo op or your signature, you're SOL. unless you go and speak to somebody and see what that company offers. Because I was lucky with the company that was at MegaCon at that time allowed me to switch over the money I had paid for Rosario Dawson to other photo ops. Now, when doing so, they didn't let me know there'd be an upcharge and this charge and that charge. So I ended up paying even more money. But I ended up luckily didn't lose all the money and switched the Rosario Dawson that I missed for James McAvoy, um, James McAvoy, Sam Raimi, and John Bernthal.
which
So
is cool.
I
Which is
think I
cool.
did pretty well, all
Yeah,
things considered.
yeah.
But that was
If
only
he got
because
lucky, like
I got
let's
lucky.
focus on the lucky. More
Yes,
often than not, you will lose your money.
yeah.
So be
But if you
mindful.
do miss it, the worst you can find out is no, and that you will learn a very, very, very hard lesson. But always ask, because because I was just like, that's it. I just lost all that money. I was like, hold on, let me go. Excuse me, I got a quick question. If you're a dum dum like me and missed your time, is there anything we could do? And I ended up switching it to multiple other people to make it work. And like I said, I ended up paying even more money. So that's neither here nor there. But always make sure. And then when it comes to panels and things like that, like I went last year, they had Hayden Christensen and Ewan McGregor doing a panel one day because they were both there. I saw that it was a free panel, but I still decided to buy into it to get one of the. It was a gold, silver, or bronze, and I got silver. So what they didn't tell everyone was that they were going to keep it open for purchase until after it was already supposed to start. So there were hundreds. I honestly think it was probably about 1,000 people trying to position themselves to be the first ones in for free. And then us, the people who actually paid, they like moved us into these rooms and like had a single file like like we were freaking chickens about to go to the slaughterhouse, to the point where the freaking fire marshal, I had never seen a fire marshal in real life before, only on TV. I know what they look like now. They're short and angry. There was two of them. They're both short, they're both angry. They're like, listen, you put a single more person in this room, I'm shutting this whole convention down. I'm like, oh my, please don't put no one else in here. Please don't. Please. But that's definitely, just know you might have to wait. It might not be great, but if you want to do something, make sure you're there early. Make sure you purchase it on time, if not earlier, if you can, and you will save yourself so much more hassle on the back end of any convention that you go to.
Yeah. That's with that being said, uh the last on the list here is budget. And I know I mentioned budget before, but just
It's
budget for
important.
everything, right? If you're coming out from out of town, gas, food, lodging, your commissions, your signatures, how much you're gonna spend on food, how much you're gonna spend per day at the booths, at the retail floor, how much you're willing to spend on photo ops, on the nightlife. Like some of these conventions have like after parties, like budget
Yep.
all of this. So you when you're there, you don't have to worry about money because you already set aside and
Yep.
tally everything that you was going to spend. You don't want to be at a convention, purchasing and then checking your bank
And run out
account.
of
No,
money.
yeah, or run out of money, right? And then be stranded
Denied.
and be stranded on Sunday
Oh,
evening with
yep.
no gas money to make it back home.
Yep.
So
Nope.
please,
Absolutely.
please make sure you budget your entire time from the moment you leave your home to go there and the moment you get back. Please,
Yeah.
we,
No,
we
I
don't
absolutely.
we will hate to see you selling uh the key comics you purchased or the books you got signed
all
outside
those
of the
backstock
convention
books.
in the parking lot because you don't have any money to buy yourself dinner tonight. Okay.
Eh, no, and budgeting is very, very important, and absolutely, because I know a couple years back I didn't, and I was almost stranded, and it was almost a very big problem. So I got lucky that I know some people, but Yeah, no, I agree. Budgeting is very important, whether you're going for any, whether it's as a fan, creator, or anything like that. Um, and now to move on to the to my side of the list, we covered most of the creator stuff already. When we talked about making sure you have the prices up and all that stuff, and be honest about what you have and and all that stuff. But for one of the only big thing I need to talk about is like from the creator side, just remember how cool it is that you're a creator at a comic book convention. Like, just the fact that you get to be the people that someone's coming up to buy your product. Like, I'm a creator. I will be appearing at MegaCon at booth 1081 with the 305 comics. My artist Martin is flying in from Canada, so we're gonna have exclusive. We're gonna be able to do triple signs, and we're doing signatures for free. Also, remark and grading available as well. Sorry for that shameless plug. But me, and granted, I am a small creator, both in stature and in well-known ability. I couldn't help it. I couldn't help it. It was just right there. And I know for me, I'm just so honored and thankful to be even considered to do anything like that. So to I've very rarely, very very rarely had any experience with the creators that weren't like that. Just so happy to be there, and just willing to talk and willing to be like, I was treated like an equal to by a lot of people, like Arthur Soydum, who is the guy who did all of the artwork for the Marvel Zombies and Walking Dead. He's the guy who people call the king of zombies when it comes to the actual drawn versions. He looked at my book and treated me like an equal. I
Nice.
almost cried in front of him because I was taken aback so much. He had no reason to do that. Like, he had nothing that to gain from doing that except for being just an awesome person. So just remember that if you're having the moments like so much stressful, so many people, just remember you're on the other side of the table at a comic book convention. That's amazing. You've done something very special, and just even if you can, only for a little bit, even for a slight moment, enjoy it. But now, and I appreciate everyone who's still here. We're usually going to try to keep these to about an hour. This one went long. I have 2 points I'm going to make, and then we're going to get out of here. If you're still here, thank you so much. But I think these points have to be made, especially if we're talking about comic book conventions. The con pricing is out of control. As a retailer, I literally just worked a convention a few months ago and not only made my booth back, but made a substantial profit by not overpricing books, because everyone was like, oh my God, you're the only one who doesn't have con prices. They putting up in quotes. Yeah, I was able to cover my booth and make some money. If you have a book that's worth, let's say it's 2 grand, and you have it at 3 grand, and someone offers you two and you won't take it because you want three because you're at a convention, you're out of your fucking mind. I'm sorry. That's wrong. You're in the wrong headspace to be doing that. And I can't stand, because I know I've been, as a fan, I'll go pick up 20 books from this guy from, and I'm gonna be very frank, from what seems to be the older generation of retailers. They would go look through it and say $300 when it's worth 150, and I'd be like, all right, it's a convention. It's You can bump up price a little bit, I guess, but can you meet in the middle at 150 maybe? Nah, that's 300 is on the low side. If you're just going to try to squeeze every single penny out of the community, you're not going to, one, get enough sales to keep doing it long enough, and B, you'll become these people that someone like me talks about, and you don't want that. All right. Now, the last thing I need to say is I have seen a rampant amount of quote unquote convention exclusives that are not convention exclusives. They are a booth exclusive that just happens to debut at the convention. I know from working with different retailers how hard it is to actually get a real authentic exclusive. You got to pay for it. You got to get approval. They've got to say it's okay.
Yeah.
And for a lot of people to just, and why the big convention people don't either catch on or care, I don't know, because they should be getting a cut of all those if they're exclusives for that convention. So it'd be in their best interest to cut to
Well, he's not a
police that better. Like I don't see, but whatever. That's neither here nor there. If you're selling 17 books for over $400 and they're just exclusives that will not hold value, and that's your discounted price, I'm sorry. I know a lot of people who are retailers who are making good money and they're not trying to rob people blind. Most conventions exclusives don't hold their value. They just don't. It's the FOMO of people not being there, the price skyrockets and then dies down. If and I'm again, if you're the type of person who wants to buy all those convention exclusives, by all means, I will not discredit you for doing that. It's not you I'm talking to. I'm talking to the retailers who know there are people that will just buy a convention exclusive because it's a convention exclusive when it's really not. You're misrepresenting, and all you're doing is hurting the community. Because I don't know about you. I mean, I've sold out every convention I've been at with my exclusives. I've sold the fuck out. So, I must be doing something right. And I'm a tiny little creator who doesn't have thousands and thousands of followers everywhere and could make thousands of print runs. Maybe you're just printing too much. Well, I have overhead. Maybe if you didn't have 18 fucking exclusives for your booth at MegaCon, you wouldn't have this problem. Like, I'm sorry. I know I'm getting a little heated and I apologize. I know there are people who are just trying to make a living and I understand that. And I'm one to talk. I will have an exclusive next week at MegaCon. I will be charging people for something
certified,
I made.
certified
But
exclusive.
a legit exclusive. Okay. I went through all the steps. And I'm going to tell you what, doing all the steps, getting the covers approved, getting the artists to work together, getting everything to get through to make it happen, it was a lot and almost drove me a little mad. So I might be talking from, again, my personal opinion, from my own personal experience. If you have to sell 17 exclusives to make your money back, I don't think you should be doing 17. You obviously put too much money into printing all of those copies, hoping that you could bleed the community for another big payday. And I understand I'm just a creator appearing at a booth. I'm not worried so much about how much money I'm making selling these exclusives. Then again, I'm doing it more for the love of the game than anything, and I've said that many times, but that's neither here nor there. If you don't if it's not an exclusive for that convention, a real one, don't say it is. Don't say it is. Because all you're doing is going to hurt the person who bought that book and thinks they're going to be able to resell it later. And then they'll realize this isn't even an exclusive for that convention. Jeez. They said it was. Yeah, well, people say a lot of things. And I think on that note, after I had my little rant to the point where I'm schwitzing over here, I again thank you anyone who's still here. If you're here listening to this, I'm gonna pull my Pat McAfee excuse here. This is if you're still here, we thank you more than anything because we don't even want to listen to us talk this long. We planned for an hour and here we are inching towards 2. We're gonna
We
try
did.
to keep it
We did.
much lower in the future. But I am Nerdtooine. He is Year of the Collector. And until next time, you stay nerdy, my friends.